Welcome everyone, today we have a new Barbarian guide for Diablo 4. Now looking behind me, this is gonna be a Hammer of Ancient but with a melted heart of Zir Barbarian. And the goal of this Barbarian is to become super tanky with additional fury while berserking. Now as most of the Barbarian build, we don't really have troubles with tier 100. So this build ideally is gonna focus on preparing for the new content that is coming with December with the new Endgame. And what I heard is there will be a lot of challenges and there will be a lot of testings of dealing more damage against the enemies and while staying alive. So the challenge will be you have a time limit, you also want to be durable. And as you can see in this build, for a majority of the time you are very durable and you deal tons of damage with barbarians. Now quickly coming over to my character over here, one of the focus of this build is having the melted heart of the Zir. And this will allow you to reduce damage taken by using your maximum resource, or using your resource. And one of the focus for my Barbarian build is that I will be gaining additional fury through berserking. And if you have a look at my items, I have a lot of resource generation. So here what I want to show you guys is I have over 110% resource generation. And together with my boots, which allows me to have utility to gain more berserk, we can pretty much stay constantly in berserk form, gains a lot of fury, damage reduction, and also additional damage because all of the items is built for berserking damage. So coming back to the replay, now that you see the highlight of the build, you can see that we're both mobility based because of berserk and also unstoppable. We're very focused on dealing more damage, more defensiveness while being berserk, and generating more fury while berserk. And finally, because our build still focuses on overpower, we can deal tremendous damage against enemies as we go through any of the content. Now one of the highlights for this build is that we can actually adjust for different part of the content in the game. If you feel like you want more damage against the boss, I have a very nice trick to show you guys over here. So what you can do is, you can have a spare accessory that is ready to be equipped. And I'll show you guys the highlight over here. I was switching gears very fast. So here, let's say if I don't have a guaranteed chance to critical hit or a guaranteed chance to overpower, what I can do is I can equip my overpower amulet and I can spend about 300 fury just before I enter the boss mode. So here I'll show you guys my trick. So basically by switching out of the melted heart, I spent 300 fury. So this is one of the cool tricks you can play as a barbarian, and you can deal a lot of damage and potentially one-shot any of the content in the game. And here I didn't do a massive crit, I only did 100 million. Now with the new glyphs that is coming available to the Barbarian with the new content, we can easily deal a few hundred millions of damage with this combination. So yes guys, against the boss this build have no problem, and you can be very flexible adjusting your gears and preparing yourself against the boss using a few of the simple tricks. Now similar to all of the builds guide, this will be available on mobilities. I have adjusted accordingly to make ourselves more defensive, and you can see the choice of my gear stats. Now let's briefly talk about items of choice. There's a few reasons behind it. I have seen a different variation of the Immortal Barbarian using the melted heart of Zir. But the difference is they're using the shot rod. So they're using two rings that provide the shot reduction and also the shot generating fury. This is nice, but personally speaking, I do think that in the future, because we need one more glyph slot, I'm going to remove the slot for the shout on my current slot for the Barb to deal more damage. I'm going to replace with this particular glyph. And this means the shout build for Barbarian might not be the best meta build. And this is one of the reasons I'm going with a berserking Barbarian build to gain more fury while berserking, and also to deal more damage with a new ring that is available in the season. Now briefly going through the choices of items. Now if you guys do not have any of the uber unique items, we do have a build without using those items. But having those items will make you more durable, having lower cooldowns, and also deal more damage with more maximum HP. So currently I'm using the Harlequin's Quest, the Doombringer, and also the Grandfather. Together with the centerpiece of the build with a melted heart, we're very durable and also deals tons of damage. In terms of the unique items, we're currently using the Tabulous Wheel, and this is focused on damage reduction, resource generation, and also ability to become unstoppable and also gains more fury. In terms of the other defensive items, we're going with the Disobedience to gain more armor, and you can see my chest is very defensive. The gloves is very straightforward with a Hammer of Ancient. And here is one of the highlights for the build. Because we're focused on gaining more fury while berserking, this particular aspect of gaining more berserk using core skills with a lucky chance is really good. This is also craftable. So you can see I'm sitting on 22%, you can easily get to 40% if you get a lucky boots. For the weapons, it's pretty straightforward. We're gaining more damage with core spells, and here we're gaining more damage with overpower, and also another way of overpowering enemies. One thing I forgot to mention is that yes, we're using the new season's Barbarian ring, and currently this ring is not the 30% ring, but I prefer to have a higher resource generation. I do have a 30% ring over here, but the rolls on the resource generation is a little bit lower. And finally, one of my legendary rings will provide me with critical chance, critical damage, berserking damage, and also resource generation. Now if we come over to the summaries over here for the stats of my gears, what I like to have on my rings is to have critical chance, critical damage, because we're using the grandfather, and also berserk and also resource generation. I didn't go with maximum fury because I feel like we have tons of maximum fury over here already. As for the boots, I'm going with movement speed, fury reduction, and also berserk duration. You can go for strength, or you can go for anything that is giving you more resistance. And here I went with the poison resistance for my boots. Now in terms of the weapons, it's pretty straightforward. You want strength, you want critical damage, berserk damage, and also overpower damage. And I am using the one-hand axe over here for my barbarian, just so I can one-shot the boss and also deal more damage on the first hit. Now the choices of the gems and also different practical powers are pretty straightforward. I don't see a need to adjust them, and if you have seen our previous build, we have made explanations behind it. So I don't think we need to worry too much about that, and you guys can see on the builders what are my choices. So briefly coming over to the skill trees. Now I do have to say the skill trees can be adjusted according to what we need for the build. For example, we can be going for a more defensive route, or we can go for a more offensive route. And because we have the grandfather, we can easily benefit of having more critical strike damage over here by going with the heavy-handed. Now if we come over to the Paragon board, you can see that my Paragon board hasn't really changed much from the previous build. But this will be adjusted once we have the new glyph. So here we have the new glyph. But I don't want to get you guys to change the Paragon board before the new content comes, right? So I'll give you guys a brief understanding of how this will be adjusted. The new glyph will be placed over here by replacing my dexterity glyph over here, because this section I can benefit the most by having the damage reduction while close enemies and also benefiting from berserking damage. Because the new glyph will give us bonuses to those rear nodes, this is really powerful. And in replacement, I'll be moving my dexterity critical strike damage over here with one of the glyphs, and then I'll be replacing my Barber glyph over here with the current glyph. And if that's a little complicated, guys, I will be adjusting this one with a new glyph build for you guys very soon when the new content comes. And maybe I'll have this ready before the release of the content, so you guys will have this ready to prepare for the new content and also the new glyph that will be available. Now briefly going through the rotations and also the skill usage of this build. This build is very durable. There are a few instances I think you want to be a little careful. Most of the time your shots do not have a lot of cooldowns, and this means you should use your shots sparingly. So your shots can be for defensive purpose and also for fury generation. If you are using the shots too freely, you might find yourself a little bit short on cooldowns. So this is one of the examples over here. Notice I didn't really need to use all my shots, and currently I am sitting on maximum fury, but I do not have any of the shots. What I recommend for the build is, because you don't have the shots reduction to cooldowns, you should try to have at least one of the shots available to save yourself from trouble. And here I will show you guys what's going to happen very soon. So because I was a little careless with my shots, even though I didn't really need it, I still cast my shot over here. And because I'm rushing through the content, I'll be like, well, what's going to kill me now with maximum fury? But guess what? I actually died over here. I'll show you guys again. Because I didn't have any of the shots available. All of your shots are defensive and also offensive. Because you can be gaining maximum fury to deal damage, you can be gaining maximum fury to defensively with a melted heart. And during that time, I died because I was not ready. I simply did not have any cooldowns, and that is the only downfall of the build. Because while taking a lot of damage, you'll rapidly lose your fury, and the moment you lose all your furies, your defensive capacity with Amulet will disappear. Now, because the build is quite flexible and very durable, I didn't want to be like how you play the build, but I want to give you guys the biggest focus on how you can mess up with the build. But majority of the time, the build is very smooth. You generate tons of fury, which I'll show you guys very soon, and you have ways of dealing more damage to the boss by using our trick over here. You simply replace the amulet, and I'll just prepare you guys for a guaranteed overpower hit. And if you time yourself correctly with your 100% critical rain, this does tremendous damage, and most of the things will disappear in one shot. Now, during the recording of this video, I also decided to do more testing with my fury gain and also defensive potentials. So you're gonna see over here, I'll be testing myself to take some damages from enemies, and you can see that by casting each of the shouts, and also by dashing, and also by becoming Berserk, I'm constantly gaining tons of fury, and this is because I have over 110% fury gain. So this build ideally will give you permanent Berserk because you're gaining more Berserk while dealing damage with your core spells. And you're also gaining Berserk through multiple ways. Now, on the topic of gaining more Berserk, you can even gain more Berserk by killing bleeding enemies. So you might be wondering how you're killing the bleeding enemies, right? So I'll briefly talk about this as well. We're using the two-handed axe expertise to gain more vulnerability damage, but we're also dealing more damage with a two-handed weapon as a sword. So here our launch strike will be using a sword, and this will allow us to bleed enemies because of the special effect of the two-handed sword. And this in return should ideally allow us to bleed enemies, and then we gain additional Berserk through bleeding enemies. Now, for the off chance I was wrong about this concept, we still gain a lot of multiplication with Berserk damage because of this legendary knot. I've heard a lot of people using this knot not for the bleeding Berserk, but just for the multiplier of over 50% Berserk damage. So what I do now is, I'll provide you guys with this testing run for tier 100. You can see during the run I was not trying to do things as a speed run, but rather I was testing my damage, testing my skills, rotations, and also what happens when you have no cooldown. So I had one little bit careless death over here, but you can see for majority of the run and afterwards testing the fury, this build will be very powerful for the upcoming content for one of the tankiest barbarians to deal tremendous damage.
ready yet. Ready yet. I'm not ready. Wait.
If you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates, and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4.